You're listening to
Fresh Out the Game. Man, I be so fresh.
Fresh Podcast Network.
בלי קשקושים.
Straight from Tel Aviv, Israel.
רק מה שמעניין.
Let's go.
Hi, my name is Hilal Leizarovich.
And I'm Rana Vaughn. We are two entrepreneurs from Israel, and we are on a journey to find out what makes entrepreneurs, investors, and CEOs
Succeed or fail.
and we hope to inspire your journey. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TLD DNA show. And with us today is Didi Horn, the CEO and founder of SKYX. Right? I got it right?
100% correct.
And Hilal Leizarovich, as always.
Hello, everyone.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. You've got an amazing office over here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for the compliments. We love compliments.
Yeah.
And, let's start. You give us in a nutshell, your story about SKYX, what you do, who you are. Go.
All right. So, as you know, I'm originally from Israel. Grew up in Tel Aviv most of my life. I spent almost a decade in the Israeli Air Force, starting in the flight academy, then moving to the drone squadrons, which maybe was a hit on my ego, but maybe the best decision ever. I was put in two squadrons, where the second one of them I was part of a few officers that kind of chosen to found a new squadron, with a new vehicle. It was kind of to build a startup within the military, so you don't have any budget concerns, which was amazing. And my last position with the Air Force was in the headquarters, being responsible or part of a group that's responsible to all the unmanned systems and working with the defense industry and all those organizations. It was an amazing experience to be part of in such a young age, in a way. Since 2015, I'm the founder and CEO of SKYX. SKYX is a company based in Canada, in Toronto. And we build it in a mindset of having data as the center of what we're selling, and all the logistic tail that obviously dependent on autonomous aerial solution is only the way to bring this data from abroad. Nowadays, SKYX is almost 5 years old. We're having around 30 employees worldwide between Canada, US, Europe, and some in Israel. And we just landed maybe the most significant customer just in November last year. That do that during the pandemic was quite achievement. That's the way we see it.
So let's try to simplify a bit. Tell us, one paragraph, one sentence, what is SKYX?
So SKYX aimed to be the most advanced aerial intelligence solution out there. When you look on assets such as oil and gas pipeline, transmission line, railways, it could be also wildfires running in some forest somewhere. You don't have currently the ability to really monitor what's going on out there for a significant period of time. You can fly a Cessna, regular airplane, and capture one image. You can fly drones, small quadcopters, 15, 20, 30 minutes, and you capture some images. But in the end of the day, the customers till almost nowadays end up with an image that they need to download, to reach out the battery of the drone, to update to their systems, and only then get the actionable piece of information that they require. We created a full solution that comes with a unique drone capable of flying for almost 2 hours and 200 kilometers, fully electric. For the American audience, is more like 120 miles. A station that can take this drone, recharge it, check its critical systems, download the mission, and speak with the next station to understand that the weather parameters are okay to go fly. And then this drone can basically jump between those stations and capture, hundreds or thousands of miles or kilometers in one mission. This information get infused to an operating system that sits behind in Toronto, for example, which means that from Toronto, we executed operations that took place in Mexico, in Africa, Brazil, and other sides of Canada, when the guy sits in Toronto and the drone flies in those countries, can have multiple missions all at once, and in the end of the day, bring the data to the customer. When I approach customers, usually I'll tell them, look, the drone is awesome. It's a cool thing, everybody, bought one or two in Toys R Us before Christmas or before the holidays. But in the end of the day, you don't care about which platform carry the mission or which platform bring you the image or the data from out there. It doesn't matter if I run with my iPhone or you have Spaceship doing it.
You care about the data.
Exactly. So I sell them the data. I say, look, you get a screen. And in this screen, I show you what I captured yesterday and days before. And over time, I create patterns that then, with some AI and machine learning process, we create a predictive analytics. Meaning, not only that you know what's out, what was out there, previously, you can take actions accordingly in the future. I'll give you one example. We've been in Mexico, in an area that the Canadian embassy told us this is a red zone. You do not stop whatsoever. Even if police car chasing you nighttime, you do not stop until you get to the hotel. Things like that, which was quite an experience to run with Canadian guys that did not serve in the military, who had this kind of thoughts of what does that mean. And we landed up in Thursday, and we got to the integrity manager of the whole section of this pipeline. And he told us, look, guys, my executives told me you guys coming in, but I don't really require you guys. I know exactly what's going on in my pipeline. So I told him, look, we are already here. Let's bring you some images so you can just hang in your office or whatever. That was 100 kilometer of pipeline, 60 mile. As mentioned, we landed on Thursday. We prepared ourselves on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And on Monday, we executed the first mission. And Tuesday, we executed the full mission, 120 kilometers on one flight, carried in 1 hour. And a couple of hours later, I was sitting in his office, and I was running through, we sort them out, but we ran through 130 anomalies. And I'll explain what is anomalies. We saw a hole in the ground just beside his pipeline, which can, imply to the fact that someone is trying to dig and steal oil. This is a $2.5 billion issue for Mexico. And he didn't know about that. We show him houses that are being built beside his pipelines, unauthorized. We show them people literally on a horseback taking oil from areas. So in the end of the day, he told me, look, I have work to do. During the meeting, he's calling people, come in, go check that. And he said, look, okay, I need you guys tomorrow morning. So that's one simple example of how valuable the data that currently is not available in such industries.
What I like about your story is the fact that you started in the military, but then you know how to transform the value to commercial and other services. Tell us about the difference in the perception to create something for, let's say, civil and not military.
So one example is if we'll take the border control, for example. Very initially, I was approached by some organization or governments that asked us to do border control. And I explained them, look, if you're interested on, let's say, some guy jumping over the border and run towards the next village and, I don't know, some terror act or whatever it is, that's not what we do. Because in the end of the day, I don't sit behind the screen and can follow him and change the vehicle or the airplane route. That's what I did in my Air Force time. Because for that, you need heavy logistic tail, you need people, you need pilots, you need to train them, you need to maintain a mission, you need some, we call it back end, intelligence officers. I want to spare it. I want to take this burden off the chest of commercial market that did not require that. So what we can do, for example, and we got approached by some government in Africa that right now has 11,000 kilometers of borderline, And in Africa, there is no fences because of the animals, so they can, run free. And they said people fleeing the border with COVID into the country, and because they want to get, treatment in this country, and we don't know what's going on. So look, 11,000 kilometers, it's a long distance. What we can do is fly all over it, over and over again, and let you guys know, you know what, instead of this whole 11,000 kilometers, in this area, and this area, and that area, between 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning, most of the people crossing the border. If you put your people there on those times, you're probably eliminating 90% of the issue. So then you take data and use it in the smart way. Now, all of us wearing those wearable devices or carry our iPhone and, Google, Amazon, Facebook, already doing it. They're using this smart data. On the intelligence or aerial data, bird's eye view, it doesn't exist. And we created both the platform and the ability to track, understand what we're seeing, process it for the customer, and bring it to him as an actionable item so he can execute or act accordingly.
So you actually help them to take actions with data and predictions that you provide with your platform.
Okay, so after almost 10 years in the service, I was in a position to decide if I want to, continue and wait for my pension at some point, or to do something different. And I understood it at that point that the drones' capabilities are far more significant than we're currently using them in, day-to-day life. So I've been approached by my general when I told him that I want to leave, and he told me, okay, why won't you take 6 months, leave and come back, go to India, Thailand, South America, do whatever you want, like everybody else doing, and come back. And I said, okay, whatever, I'll take that, and see you in a bit. But instead of having those trips to those locations, I booked a trip to the US, to one of the oil and gas biggest conferences that I figured at that time. I didn't know exactly what I'm looking to do there or what I was hoping to get there, but I knew that I need to get there and ask questions.
What attracted your attention to do it?
So I knew that I need some significant mileage, then we will bring some value. So if I'll be able to, let's bring a drone that's capable of flying that distance and capture bird's eye view, to which significant industry it will help. And before I booked this flight, I spent some time till 4 a.m. in the morning running through some industry that I thought will be relevant to or require bird's eye view images on consistent ones. I read financial reports of the oil industry, which I'm telling you not to do that. That's crazy. I'm not accountant, so I didn't know how to approach those. But I found some interesting materials during this search that helped me understand that there are markets that could be relevant for this, but I didn't know it for sure. One of the significant aspects in startups or lives is obviously to understand the customer do require what you envision he will require. But there is always, in every new invention, there is this area where you think something will, apply to the modern lives, but you're not sure, and you need some customer to tell you, you know what, I think I will buy it if you will make it. So I went to this conference, and what I figured during the time is that those conferences usually they have those booths of each company. And because they're so attractive, and I knew from the military that everyone want to go to conferences and summits because, it's a nice time and you hang around and all that. If I'll be patient and ambush on the relevant booth, I might see, vice president, CEO, chief operation that will come there to visit these guys. And because it's a conference, you're more prone to speak, to kind of sell your product than it was if I will come and walk into the office, right? So I was patient, and I waited on a couple of booths, and one of them was Shell.
the giant oil company. I don't know, first or second in the world.
One of the big three. Yeah.
Yes, and I was waited a long time, and I kind of and one moment I saw a delegation, 5 people with many people after, and then I understood, okay, that's executives. And after a while, I approached him, say, hey, I'm this and that, coming from I don't know this country, and I have solution for you guys for this and that. Would you be interested in that? And he didn't blink and said, I don't know your company, but if what you claim is what you have, then we will buy tomorrow morning. And I'm like, oh, okay, wait a second. And I was the next day coming to another booth and approaching different guy and heard the same answer and the same answer.
While you don't have a solution,
nothing.
you only have a vision.
Now then I tune more creative and become not just someone who sell them a product, but in a way some other oil company, hey, I'm like second tier, third tier company. Do you have application or do you have solution for this and that? Because I have a problem. And no, we don't have any solution for that. And then it struck me that, that's the best, customer survey you can do. Instead of having those, guys that you hire and then they go out and they have phone calls and nobody answered them, you can just need to approach them, take the first step forward.
It's amazing story because you also validated your ideal and check your competitors in the same spot.
Exactly.
In the same place. And I have to say that, you just told your story and I felt excitement about it, really. Going there, exploring it and investigating that way is really smart for an entrepreneur.
Yes, I didn't know at that time what I'm going to do with that, because one more answer they provided me is VP of Shell told me, look, for you to become a vendor to Shell, we will run you through a due diligence process for 12 months and we will take you through hell, literally hell. But if you'll sign with us, then you are a vendor for Shell for the next 10 years. Nobody will ask questions. And then I figured, you know what? Maybe I don't need to convince 1 million or 2 billion users to use my app every day. All I need is 1, 2, 3 customers, global like those, and that's it. Then I make my product available to everyone in globe.
But how did you take the journey from an ideal that you validated to an actual value proposition?
So the journey started with obviously long nights, but mainly to ask tough questions and decide whether or not it's worth to move forward. Now, this is a podcast about startups and all that, and I do remember something I heard that time that states that we all have excuses for everything in our life, right? You can come up and say, I don't have enough time. I don't have the knowledge. I don't have support. I don't have equipment. I don't have the gear. I don't have the know-how. And in this, I don't remember the name of this guy, he said, that's all lies. That's all simple lies that you tell yourself. If you do not start today and create disciplines, you will find the time, you will find the knowledge, you will find the know-how. And I don't remember exactly what pushed me to that place, but I said, okay, I have an idea here. I have an idea that I think nobody's think about. Even if someone thinks about it, let's call it the major industry for drones, they more aim to the defense industry. The commercial arm market is fully open. And even if tomorrow they will decide to go to the commercial market, it's so wide. It's called the oil pipeline, the railways. It's like trillions of dollars all around the world. If I have one piece of it, it's more than enough. So I aim, the target. I said, okay, I need a vehicle to fly this distance. So what is that distance? I made a research. The research states that every pipeline worldwide has a valve station or pumping station every 50 to 70 kilometers. So, okay, I need to fly more than that a bit, let's say 80 kilometers, and I want to have a station, let's call it a station, that will be the hub that the drone will land on it and will leapfrog to the next one. And by that, I can just jump between those pumping stations. And because of that, I don't need to build something for it because there is already those valve station or pumping stations. I can put it there and someone will keep an eye on it because they keep an eye on their rest of the equipment. And if I have those, then I can carry a mission for long distance. Okay, so what do I require next? I want one center location which all this data will get infused to, and one location that will take this data, process it, and send it back to the customer. But all of those, in a way, I thought, existing. So it just, integrating systems. That was it's a good thing that I thought like that when I started it.
Because it's lean flow.
Because when we got to a point where we're selling the AI information from the drone, and I told the guys before we had the data, go buy these aerial images from somewhere else, we didn't find anywhere. And it's anywhere. Like we did not find any consistent imagery taking over and over the same pattern day after day. And then we figured it's not only that we come up with this huge and amazing technology to bring this data to our systems, nobody currently looking at what we are looking at. So it's a new layer of data that we can sell out there.
So your first value was very narrow. Take the images. I don't know how to learn yet and forecast what's going to be, but the fact that you have the images will give you the information you need to make decisions, the first decision.
Yes, and you always ask yourself, like, what's out there right now? And I had friends, pilots, and one of them was helicopter pilot for the electric company, and he told me, how the day goes, right? He needs to track all the transmission lines. And he told me, we wake up at 6 a.m., we come up to the helicopter at 7 a.m., we fly for an hour, then we land, stopping for coffee, then we do another hour, then we have some problem, then we do another hour, and we finish the day in 11. I said, how much you cover in those 2 hours or so? Oh, it depends, And I said, what the heck? Why not to have some robot that will be consistent? Every morning will fly 4 hours. So by the time whoever comes to the office, he opens the screen and he knows exactly what issues he has on his line, so he can, tell his team, go fix that. And that's what we wanted to create.
I want to think myself, maybe, to understand. The first thing you wanted to tackle was to create a length of flight time and distance. This is what you aim to tackle first, right? Before data.
Correct.
Right? And then the second layer was creating a data and finding those anomalies within the data and provide it to the companies.
Yes.
Now, there's a question that bugs me from the beginning of the conversation. Why are you based in Toronto? An ex-military Israeli Tel Aviv-ish guy, basing his company in Toronto.
So that's a crazy story. I was running this idea mainly in my head for 6 months. In Israel, but in other countries as well, kind of looking for investors, running my own, money. And at that time, I had the money from the military, and I knew that I have kind of a year to spend it. And after a year, I probably will end up in the regular defense industries like everyone else. So, okay, I'm going to take this 12 months. And as again, 8 months into the year, looking for investors, and some guy that you find in a way told me, yes, I'm bringing some group of investors to see Israeli tech companies. I want you to meet with them. I said, okay, awesome. What are they interested with? I said, they more into round B kind of thing, those stages. I said, look, I'm seed, pre-seed level, oh yeah, I think it'll be relevant for you to be there. And I'm so I'm going to be the entertainment for lunch for them. Said, yeah, basically yes.
At that time, what do you have? Idea, vision, presentation. What did you have at that stage?
So I have a Volkswagen Golf. Polo. Two doors, small ones, and small drone. And I was remember put the drone on, in the row seat, and it's take the whole space. And I'm driving with that to every investor. I don't know, but I think I saw that day or before it that I think before Tesla, he was walking around with this idea, like literally in like some hardware model and presenting it in the same way. So I said, okay, maybe it's easier for people to see that instead of having presentations. So I was driving to this lunch with this drone in my backseat, arriving to the lunch, a delegation of, I want to say, 8 to 10 people. They're all having good time eating, and I'm like speaking for like half an hour. They, providing food. I did not eat anything. Asking questions, shooting questions at me. Those guys were very knowledgeable engineers, and they asked me tough questions that some I knew to answer, some I didn't know how to answer, and I told them that I don't know, that I do know. I didn't try to, I want to say, lie or exaggerate. I told them that's very, initial stage of the startup, but that thing, that I put on the table, that thing work, and it flies, like it take off vertically, transition to horizontal flight, come and land on, precision landing. It's all the kind of proof of concept, but very initial proof of concept. And if this thing will work, we can do my vision. 2 days after, it was Israeli Independence Day. I was barbecuing with my friends, and I'm getting call from this guy. I said, okay, be in an hour in the airport. I said, like, I'm barbecuing. I said, yes, and they want to see you. All right, whatever. Taking a shower, driving to the airport, sitting in the coffee shop just outside the border control. Again, this delegation gathered some tables, asking a few more questions. Then the chairman of this group tell me, look, we are highly interested in what you have. We have one problem. Your market is not in Israel. And your roadmap at that time was, let's build it, have the R&D here, and then move it on to the go-to-market approach, to the relevant country, because you need pipeline. In Israel, we have 200 kilometers. You need thousands of kilometers. And also regulation about drones was very strict, especially on the civil ones. So kind of pushed me away. Said, I'm giving you 5 countries. You choose which you're going to go with. You tell me the number that you require that I will invest in you, so you'll be able to do that. Said, yes, but if I'm going out, I need, to be supported, till product stage maybe, which could be, seed and A. And he kind of looked behind and said, okay, so what's the number? I have no clue. I did not prepare that, having some phone calls, come up with a number. I said, okay, yes, we're good to go. We're going to take the airplane. We're going to meet you with the lawyers after, and then we'll deal with this.
Let's focus on the fact that he asked you to choose the country. Okay, because it's not something that you just guess. You need to research, understand the logistic, understand what kind of value you can give to each company over there. So how did you do that? And as I understand, very fast, because you needed an answer. So
Eli, you could have sit there exactly like me, because I asked the same question like you do, 1-to-1. I told him the same. Said, look, the number, I can come up with something. The country, I need to do some homework. So again, he looked behind and said, okay, 2 weeks, whatever, 2 weeks. And he gave me Canada, South Africa, Australia, Hong Kong, and Austria. I had no clue, like you said. Like I think till that day, I was maybe twice out of Israel. I had no clue where to go, where to start, who to ask. And that's okay, what most important for the company? I said, okay, we need strategic assets that runs, all around the country, significant mileage, and maybe low population. And that comes up to, Australia, South Africa, and Canada all shares the same long pipelines, low population relatively, and areas which, nobody lives there, which is good for drones because you can fly and there is no risk involved. Then I asked, okay, I do want to have regulation or regulation that prone to, approve drones over time. Now, we're talking 6 years ago, that was almost like science fiction drones. Like they just talked about it. Nobody said how it's gonna fly. Even nowadays, it's still a process. And then we asked, okay, we do want a Western country that will be relevant, close to the biggest market that we are chasing at, and the biggest market for oil and gas back then was, or still, is the US.
So okay, I think Canada. I'm gonna take a trip to there, and we'll see how it goes. Had one guy that got through some friend of a friend of a friend, landed in Toronto, first time ever, sitting with the first lawyer, and I remember asking someone, how do I even choose lawyer account? I don't know how to do it in Israel. He told me to do it in Canada. He said, you will know. And I remember coming in even to the bank, all right, kind of the main office. I said, hey, I'm coming from Israel. I have that kind of money coming in 2 months. I need to open a business account, credit, to open an office and all that. And they looked at me, and that's not Israeli approach. And like, you are a complete stranger. You have some weird story. They're not like very tech influence over there. And so she said like, we can help you with that. It will take probably around 3 months, sir. And I'm like, look, I need to open this account by the end of the week. And I saw another sign of another bank just across the street. So just, it's you guys or them. And said, okay, one woman, sir. And she brought the manager in. Now, you asked the question, and I answered it a couple of sentences ago. It comes back to, in a way, the disciplines equals freedom. Like, if you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to find a way as I go, and not being afraid of the process, I think that's what lead you to the result. I don't say that I took the right decisions or the most right decisions every step of the way, but that I chose to push forward. So it was starting with the bank, and then one lawyer, and then one account, and then found the new guy that will bring me more hirings.
What you've done in your story is that before you decided to go to Canada, you actually set yourself with basic metrics to sort and equal between the countries. Okay.
Yes.
Compare.
Balance.
Yeah. Compare between the
countries.
countries.
Thank you for that. Compare between the countries. And I think this is a process that every entrepreneur that need to get a decision which market to approach. So he need to have a basic metrics and at least a basic plan what he need to check, what the KPIs is going to have in his journey for that.
Correct. And to add one more thing that was crucial to me every step of the way in the build-up of SKYX, you need to know what your goal or what you come to solve, right? Again, in the Air Force, you don't start any mission without understanding what are you about to solve with this mission. And that was my approach. And I said, okay, what in the end of the day, kind of, imagine to yourself, how do you see it? Where do you want to see this thing goes, or how you imagine it in your imagination, and go back from there and say, okay, I need this, and that, let's build it up. The first 2 years of SKYX was to build up a platform, the vehicle, the airplane, the station, the operating system, much before we even got to a place where it's even close to my vision. Like, we spent almost 2.5 years just to build the ability to be ready to this market. And all this time, as you know, in startup life, you have this pressure from the board. Okay, when do you guys progress? When is the first customer? What's going on? And I said, if we want to build that right, if we want to solve the mission, okay, we need to fly 100 kilometers. We need to have a station to recharge. We need to have operating system to control them remotely. We won't be able to solve the problem. So I chose the long run over the short run, or the long wins over the short wins. Mm-hmm. And that was the same process when I chose the country. And when I came back to this chairman, I said, look, I chose Canada because 1, 2, 3, 4, I think, it got sense to him. It makes sense to him.
Maybe it's your last name, Horn, which makes you sort of unicorn lucky because it sounds like, a very Cinderella story. But at the end of the day, what's really fascinating about it, even when it's, it has a background of a Cinderella story, you still act like an entrepreneur, investigating where to go, where to establish, what bank account to open, where to open it. And this is something I think entrepreneurs all over the world needs to learn and listen to understand that it doesn't matter how you get there, you have to investigate, you have to explore, you have to make decisions and make them.
100%. But I don't see that as a Cinderella story. Not because not to pat myself in the back, but more exactly because what I mentioned. I think I ran marathon once, right? Some friend of mine convinced me when I was 25, let's run a marathon, and said, whatever, let's do it. I was not prepared to do that whatsoever. It's a different story, but when you run a marathon, you don't start with, okay, let's buy the most expensive shoes so they will fit the ground that I'm going to run in the marathon day. No, you start by running the first 1 kilometer and figure out your pace at that point in time. That's it. You just run the first step. Now, the only thing I learned from this marathon is that all the cliches are correct, okay? In the marathon, they're saying that I think around the 32 kilometers, there is what they call the wall, which if you did not prepare enough, you get to a point where the body tells you, like, that's it, like, I'm done, all right? It doesn't matter what you want to do, I'm done. And if you did not really, we call it to lie down the groundwork before it, or ran enough before it, or ate, enough carbs and all that before that, you won't be able to go through it. My story with the marathon was that I ran the first 21 kilometers with my friend, feeling, super high adrenaline, much faster than we usually do. Looking all around, said, oh, that's much easier than what we thought. Come on, it's easy stuff. And then I hit the wall. Cliche as it is, 32 kilometers, feeling my body shut down. And in my head, luckily, I was still, okay, it's either through ambulance or I'm going to, run it through slower than I aimed to. And I managed to finish it. But what I learned there is that if I did not go through those financial reports of the oil industry, I wouldn't know that they have those pumping stations. I wouldn't know that they need operation every now and then. I wouldn't know that they're looking for those. If I didn't go to the conference, because, okay, this knowledge will come to me, I'll look in Google and it will come. I wouldn't know they do require exactly this and that. I didn't know that, it takes that period of time to engage with them. So you need to take steps even though you're not certain what the results will be, but you have some sense, some gut feeling telling you, okay, I need to take this step to feel the water.
Tell us about the moment that you felt that you hit the wall with SKYX.
Oh, that's a huge one. So as mentioned, 2016 was the build-up of the technology, and I don't know if that's my habit, but created very definitive goals and objectives. Ran through it. We aimed to be there on year and a half after of the establishment. We hit the milestone 8 months after, which is again rare on the startup companies. Then the next goal was to take this thing into full proof of concept, the whole system, end to end, airplane, station, operating system, data, all end to end in 2 years' time. We did it in 2017. In 2018, I told the guys, okay, stop with what you're doing. We need to meet the customer. We're going to do demonstrations, free or paid, whatever. Whoever wants to bring us to fly above his pipeline, we're going to go get there, and I don't care which continent. And we knew that we're not 100% ready. But I said, okay, we need to go there to learn how far are we. And failure and that perspective is good as a learning process. And we managed to come, I think, 4 customers that year that we convinced them to take us as an experiment. And my pitch for them was, take me to the most rugged terrain that you have, most difficult terrain, and just, I will be an add-on, nothing you need to depend on, right? Just let me fly over. One of them was the Mexico story that I shared earlier. And we learned a lot through that process. And in the end of the year, I said, okay, we have a hell of a product. We did have failures. We had crashes, we had some, but we have a hell of a product. We have customer, feedback that is positive. All right, that's like, I have checked all the marks. Let's go ahead. And then we started to what they call in industry be commercialized, right? Like sell it properly, like needed. Now at that point in time, I think we were like 20 guys. I was the sales, marketing, and operation, right?
Yeah.
Classic. And all the rest was kind of engineers that doing their job. I did not realize how far me in the process of be able to sell
the oil company. And I remember after, I think it was 4 months into the process, when I'm not getting anyone to even show some sort of, yes, I do want this product. And in the midst, like I see, it was the bubble of drones that, drone delivery, pizza delivery, all those stuff that disappeared obviously after. But at that time, the board tell me, okay, maybe we need to explore delivery of drones. And I said, no, delivery, it's far more complicated, because if there is one failure and you fall on, I don't know, grandma, crossing the street, you're done. I want to stick with that. So I think it was like almost 8 months into the process, and we have nobody, like no customer calling, nothing. And you don't know what's the issue. Is that pricing? Is that technology? Is that the way we sell? And it was frustration, because after super successful 3 years that you beat, every step of the way, what the expectations were, and the board's super excited about you, it's fading away, and you feel it. And you see your engineers all of a sudden starting to question, and the executive teams start to question. And you need to decide, do I stick with what I have and continue with it and be consistent, or I'm changing to different market, because I can change, but I need to decide, because I cannot go both ways. I don't have the funds for that. And that was very frustrating point for me, that I remember. It was kind of a 2 months process that when you run a company, when you CEO of the company, you need to show the same face every day. You cannot smile one day and be sad the other way, because it affects your people. So for them, it looks like I'm positive, while inside, or during long nights, you don't know what to do, and you see the money going away, and you understand you're not gonna get the next round if you're not gonna hit customers.
What did you do?
8 months after go to market,
Like-
no sales. You're showing happy face, but you're devastated inside.
So
What's then?
we're going to know about a pivot or what happened over there in that moment.
So I knew that I need to understand what is the problem, and I saw myself as the problem. I said, I might be good on establishing a team. I know to lead. I know those things are my assets. Like I know to take, by the way, Canadian guys, not Israelis, create a culture around it, create, some spirit in the team, and make things happen. That I know to do. I know to market maybe for investors well in a way, and convince them on, the invention and the crazy idea that I have in my mind. But maybe I don't know how to sell to oil and gas companies. And it hit me when I walked down the street of I think it was some place in, Mississippi or something. And I walking with a guy that is owning a company of 20,000 guys, owning 2 nuclear reactors. And he asking me how it goes with your company, what do you guys do? And I said, we just expanded. We added 10 more guys to the company. We're feeling so happy. That was a massive hiring for us. And he looked at me and said, oh yeah, I fired yesterday 100, and that's I didn't feel it. You have 20,000. This whole village basically worked for me. I'm like, how do you convince him to buy something from you? And then he told me, he was super open, and we spent time in doing dinner and had some good time, and he told me, look, I like you, you're a nice guy, but I tell you the truth, you in a way an immigrant, okay, you're not American, you look kind of too smart, maybe Democrat, something like this. You come from this place that you don't know how to hunt, you don't know how to golf, you don't know how to play football. We don't have any things to talk about it. Now that's okay with me, but if you go down to Houston, Texas, where the capital of the oil and gas industry, they will not look at you. They're talking with princes. They all grew up together, right? They know the industry. They're selling to each other. You need someone like them that will be, relevant to sell them, because you speak different language and they cannot
connect with you.
Relate to
Yes.
it, yeah.
So we hired a sales guy like this, and then things flew, and then things moved.
So you've got like an amazing advice, and if you might have missed it. Like it can pass by.
But again, like I said, this advice answered the question I was looking
That's
for.
true. That's true. But that takes me to another place. 8 months. Where was this question? Like, was this a hidden question? Was this like a blind spot for you? You really, built on your skills all that time, or were you sharing all that time and asking those questions?
So I think the toughest position, and kind of relates to the question before, to move from the military to the commercial market or startup life. The position as the founder and CEO of a company or the leader of a company is a hard position, because you get a lot of no's along the process from investors, from customers, from engineers, from your team. No, that won't be there is no way could be done, etc. With them in the military, the number one in the organization, number one in the squadron, number one in the big brigadier, is the most talented guy for this role. He knows everything. In the civil market or in the regular company, number one is not necessarily the most knowledgeable guy in the company. It could be that the CTO is best, on the technology side and marketing best on the marketing side. And you need to find the balance between how do I avoid the no's and continue with my passion, with my vision, because I think I see it through, and what areas you align to yourself and say, I'm just, maybe too cocky to say, hey, you know what? I don't know. I don't think it's right. I need to choose different path. So yes, in those 8 months, I was carried away on the clouds of, I did it right for the last 3 years. I'll be able to solve this one as well. And maybe I'll add one more thing. When I got the investment, the first funding, it's so a happy moment and all that, I bought myself a present. And the present was, I think it was 16 books from Harvard Business Review, right? That I said,
Nice.
I know that I will be the first person in the organization they will replace if I would not know how to adapt to changes over time, because SKYX in 2016 is nothing like SKYX in 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020. So coming back, I was, lying to myself for a long time, saying, yes, I know how it goes, not learning enough, up to a point where I figured, yes, I am the problem. And you need to be very humble with yourself and telling, I am the problem. Now, the next answer could be, okay, I'll give up, go bring someone else. I didn't choose that. And I came to the board and tell them, look, I'm not the right guy to sell to oil companies in Texas. But I think I can manage well this guy, because he alone cannot do it. So I'm going to hire the best guy I will find. I want to still lead the company because I think I'll do it better than, if we'll bring tomorrow a CEO coming from Texas, for example. And I think coming to the board and share both your, low point and strong point, be very open with them, creates more confidence than if you come to them and lie and say, I can manage it, or I will solve it, just, let me go, or, keep quiet, etc. And I think till this day, I'm happy to say that the board is highly, appreciate of what I'm saying or my opinion, not because I know everything, because they know I'm going through the process of understanding how to approach stuff and whether it's me to solve it or someone else that I'm going to be helped with.
I have to say that this is a precious story you're sharing here, and I'm sure it will be very valuable to entrepreneurs all around the world to understand that, and to understand where are your walls, and to share it appropriately at the right time. This is very important, and it connects me to a question Ila asked before, and I wanna ask it again in a different angle. Coming from the army, which is more secrecy and it's more about classified organization, how is that for you when it comes into a startup and needing to share all the time to get more input from the other side, and validations from the other side?
So to be honest, the first problem I had is I didn't have any social media in the Air Force. Nothing. Like no Facebook,
Not
LinkedIn,
surprising.
Twitter, nothing.
So you were under the radar.
100%. I think that days it was not that popular, and the army kind of, told you not to open such. So I didn't have one. Now, when I got to the world progressed pretty much like a lot during these 10 years. And the first thing, I hired some Canadian lady that, to do some marketing stuff. And it's okay, you need to post once in a while something so they'll know the company. I said, on which platform? She said, what do you mean? Like LinkedIn? I don't have LinkedIn. What do you mean don't have LinkedIn? Okay, so Facebook. I don't have Facebook. She didn't
So Twitter,
know.
I don't have.
Yeah, I don't. She didn't know how to approach it. All right. I was like those old guys that they bring the phone to you. Okay, that's how you post. Don't don't do that. Things like that. And she taught me in a way. So for me to start and share achievements, to start share with the world the progress and how to message out properly what you're selling and how you're selling was quite a challenge, to be honest. Till this day, I had one conference in China. And I was flying with, back then, 3 connections from Toronto to China. I was landing in Hong Kong, took a ferry. I was like 24 hours
Traveling.
Yes, en route. And I was like, Air Force guy, yeah, just bring me black coffee. I'm okay to speak in front of 500 people. That will be...
To all our audience, black coffee is is what we drink in Israel. The Turkish
Yes.
coffee.
Turkish is it's a different approach to Americano maybe.
Yeah.
So I asked the guy that to bring me some black coffee. He brought something over there, and I was going to the stage, and it's like 500 Chinese. The audience was highly engineering guys, and I was starting with my pitch, and I knew exactly what I'm speaking. I practiced it and all that, and I'm working on the stage, and bam, hit me, complete blackout. Like, I could not speak a single word. And I forgot the whole speech, everything. And I remember someone told me, okay, share a story. Start with a story to warm up the audience. And then I didn't know what to share. What am I going to share with 500 engineers in China about what? About my trip? And so that was a challenge that I managed to overcome. But for me to move from organization, it is very, exactly how to go from this place to that place. What is the next rank? Who do you approach when you have a problem? You have role to everything. And again, comes back to those excuses that we share with ourselves. So in the army, you have a guy that's responsible for something whenever you need it. Okay, you need help with that, just call that guy. You need this help with that, you just need to find a guy. In the regular life, we don't have that. We don't have that luxury.
You need to build a network around you.
And you need to understand if that network even suits you, because you don't have the same. You can approach a great marketing person. You don't know if that's the right marketing person for you. You can approach a sales guy. You don't know if that's the right sales guy for you. You need to hire engineers, and you don't know how to hire a Canadian engineer to the company that build drones. He never saw drone in his life. It's not like he's an Israeli guy that served in the army and have some sort of background.
So after you experience it, what kind of a tip you can give around it?
So I think maybe the best tip is not to be too harsh on yourself and be too strict with ideas in your mind. You need to create those policies, processes that works for you. There is no one answer suits all. There is no such a thing, I think, that if you ask some guy, okay, give me a tip how to hire people, that 100% will suit the way you hire people. But I think if you develop your own process to it and stick with it, you create patterns, and over time if those patterns works for you or not. I'll give maybe 2 examples for that. I figured very early in my life that I'm a morning person, like very early morning process guy.
And I saw that many people stay long nights. And when I'm getting, 10 p.m., 11 p.m., I'm just falling asleep. I cannot, coffee doesn't help me. And I decided that I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to go to sleep 10 p.m. or so and wake up 3 a.m. in the morning, 4 a.m. in the morning. And, when I wake up after, one coffee, I'm super sharp. I'm super aware. There is quietness in those hours. So I take myself an hour, you clean your emails and you sharp in your answer. It's not like answering emails, 9 p.m. at night when you just so frustrated and just want to get rid of it. Mm-hmm. So one of my disciplines is I'm not answering emails, nighttime. I take the weekends, I take the mornings. That's the time that I'm answering emails. There is maybe another tip on hiring people that I can share. One question, maybe I'm blowing it right now, but one question that I'm asking people during a hiring process, and I'm asking every person to whatever role, is what is the most dangerous animal for humanity, for people? Now,
where is it coming from?
before you answer that, think about your answer and tell me on what percentage are you sure with your answers, with your answer. You want to give a shot?
You should try it. Like, I have a completely blank right now.
Yes, that killed the most.
That kills the most.
Yes.
Most dangerous animal that kills the most. I'll go with snake.
So that's close enough. But how you sure? How much you sure with that?
I'm not absolutely sure.
Percentage?
It's my gut feel. And maybe one of my fears talking as
so
well.
Like 70% sure?
Yeah, I'll go with the 70%.
Right, so that's not bad. So the right answer...
hired.
100. So the right answer is flies, to be honest. Checked it. But what I'm more scared about...
Mosquitoes, you mean?
Yes,
All
kind
right.
of.
Yeah.
Different types.
Okay.
But what I'm more care about is the percentage. Why? Because if, for example, I'm hiring an accountant and I'm asking him, that's true example, right? True story.
Mm-hmm.
And asking the guy and he's answering whales 100%. What I'm figuring from this question is that this guy is dumb. Okay. A. B, I cannot trust his word because he's an accountant. Tomorrow he's going to provide me an answer for something. I ask him, are you sure? He will say yes, even though he doesn't know the answer. Other aspect, if someone gives the opposite and he said, I don't know, monkeys, 50%. 50% is like,
Somewhere
it's like
in
yes
not
or no.
here and not
yes,
there.
like you
Yeah.
don't give me anything. You just, leave
Very
yourself.
gray. Yeah.
If people say, for example, like 70%, 80%, it doesn't matter really what they answer because I don't looking for the answers. The next question will be, okay, if I'll give you 30 seconds to open your phone and, Google it, will you change your percentage? And see how confident they are with the answer or they want to look for a further. Now, this process for me in the hiring created the ability to sort people in the way I like. It's not necessarily works for everyone.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But for me, when I look for the personality behind the person and questions like where do you like to travel or what hobbies and kind of simple answer that usually comes back with these simple question, I'm getting the most of what I care about the personality of the person. Now, it could be false, but I found over time that it can give me the best answer that I'm looking for.
Great stuff here, Didi. So we're gonna wrap it up very soon, and you already gave great tips. So are we gonna give him a discount about the last 3 tips, or
Yeah, I
how's
have
it gonna work?
another thing that very interests me. I know that you are now aiming to a new market. So tell us how you decide to go there. What are the steps you are doing for Dubai?
So the GCC area, I think it's a great opportunity, not just for Israelis. Before COVID, I think they planned to have the expo, the World Expo. I think it was intended to be in June 2020, and now they pushed it to October 2021. And they put themselves a target or objective to become, the world's leader in innovation. They're moving from oil through travel distant destination that they did over the past couple of years. And now I think with MBZ and the Prince, I think they're moving towards innovation. For us, it's a great place to go at. It's a great, because we seek those places that cares for the long run. Now, if there is one thing that the GCC can be proud of over even US, Europe, and every other country, is because the way they control the country or govern the country, they have the ability to look for the next 10 years, knowing that the same government, same establishment, they don't need, there is no changes with elections like we suffer from and other countries have every 4 years.
So they can think long term.
Exactly. And therefore, and that's what they're looking to have. They don't look to invest money and, make the round and, sell it tomorrow. No, they're looking to build something from the ground up all the way forward. In SKYX, because we're not interested on becoming manufacturing of drones, that's not our idea. Our idea is to develop the platform that will carry out the mission, which is to bring data. Places like the GCC, who's looking to have the know-how coming into the country, build a workforce around it. They have the knowledge, they have the training. We can come there and work with them, and they can basically take maybe the small capacity that we are working with right now and
Scale it up.
Yeah, scale it up 10 times, 100
But
times.
once again, you have a cultural gap. So how you're going to mediate it?
So the first step we took, to be honest, on September last year was my advice to the board to have a bit of a changes in the board and move from, let's call it more VC approach or around the finance stuff to more the business development. We hired different director, Lital Leshem, I'm not sure if you're familiar with, which was the founder of Carbine, some venture here in Israel, then moved to the US, worked with Mobileye and other companies, and then got herself very connected into Dubai and Abu Dhabi and all this area through trust, not through opportunistic approach. And we hired her into the organization as a director to help, to mentor us on how to approach it right. I think when we come to them and highly respectful of what they have, not coming and being, we can do it all and just give us the money. Mm-hmm. But hey, we need your support in this and that. We can bring this and that and meet together.
It's more like a strategic partnership.
Yes. I found it when I found the company in Canada, when I came with a bunch of Israelis from here, and we didn't come as, okay, we Israelis will show you how to do it, just, do this and that. No, we know how to create something from nothing. That's, I think, the strength of Israelis. You, Canadians, know to take it to corporate level, to sell it to big organizations, scale it up, have those processes and procedures that maybe we a bit, lacking on. So that's exactly where I took this tip from, and we're hopefully to importing this to the GCC area as well.
Okay. Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Listen, guys, I think we're wrapping it up. It was fascinating hearing your journey and your story, your personal story as well. Thanks, Hila.
Thank you.
And as we said, you can listen to all our episodes till VDNA on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, and watch this episode on YouTube. So thanks a lot, guys, and we'll see you on the next episode of TLV DNA. Thanks, Didi.
Thank you, guys. It was amazing.
Cool.